Hello and welcome everyone, this is Blackadder at Blackadder's Place, and I'm here with what? A new expansion. Tale of the Dragon has just launched, and we are getting plenty of new stuff with it that is bound to change the game we have grown to love for the past decade. Yes, it's already more than a decade, as the original Age of Mythology has launched in 2002 already. So, what are the novelties that we are presented with then? The first one is quite obviously the new civilization, the Chinese. Chinese are designed as an overall decent civ, being easy to pick up for the newcomers and experts alike. And well, since we are all kinda noobs with them right now, aren't we? It's just as well that we shouldn't be having any hard time picking them up. As is usual with the other four civilizations, they have some special perks that make them unique, namely things like generals, immortals, monks and their way of gathering favor through gardens, but there are plenty of other special things, making them an overall interesting civ to play, to which we'll get later in the vid, as first we need to list other crucial novelties to the game itself. One of those extra novelties is, of course, a new campaign centering around the new civilization. It is featured in 9 scenarios and a full voiceover in English and some engaging story for the players amongst us enjoying a bit of extra to their single player experience, so you'll definitely want to make a stop here. There's also a Chinese tutorial. Furthermore, each of the original civilizations receives a new unit to liven up their gameplay as well. Greeks get a healing unit Physician, Egyptians a raiding unit Kopesh Swordsman, Norse will have fun with Archer Boxveigir, and finally the Atlanteans now enjoy a ranged siege in nature. But it's not all the new expansion brings. There are also tons of balance changes to the whole game, most of them seen in the beta branch for Extended Edition, but also some new that are coming in just now, like Dogs Balancing. The last novelty is then connected with the maps. There is a bunch of completely new designs like Deep Jungle or Basin, and we're also graced with a new type of map in Regicide, where you must protect a unit from death and at the same time attempt to kill the one your opponent has. And when you are then having fun with that, there is the option of the giant maps that can generate you even bigger playfields than before, with more town centers for more population and more room to build your bases on. So that's about it for all the new stuff, and now let's get to the specifics. And the first to have a look at is Fuxi, the Heavenly Sovereign, inventor of the first writing system and also co-creator of humanity with his sister Niva. Well, the first thing that you have probably noticed is the god statue inside the TC, which is depicting Fuxi as the half-snake, half-human that he is, and otherwise 2 scouts and 4 villagers. Those 2 scouts obviously going to allow you to scout quite fast in the early game, and there's also a hidden bonus, or hidden, so far hidden, because in the classical age you can actually retrain those scout cavalry to your heart's content. They are kind of a trash unit because they don't really have all that much high attack, they are kind of also cheap at just 30-40, but they could be pretty decent at raiding villages or something like that. The 4 villages, that's kinda unusual number, because usually you see like 3 for Greeks, for example, 2 for Egyptians, so 4 is a pretty huge number at this point, but it is kinda reflected in the starting resources, being 175 in food, 300 in wood, that's a pretty decent amount, and 100 in gold. What's also good to know about those villagers is that their gather rates are the same as Greeks, so if you have some kind of good build order for the Greeks, it might be working quite decently, at least for the start, with the Chinese as well. Another thing to remember with them is that they have just 1 gather point, so they just built 1 storage pit, and it serves as the base for hunt, gold and also wood. So that's pretty much it for what you should know about the Chinese start, and let's head on into the tech tree, what the Fuxi himself especially has as his special abilities. So Fuxi is buildings and heroes, yeah, that's his main focus, and bonus can use Blessed Construction to speed up building construction. And that's a pretty cool tech that you can use on any kind of foundation, and it will speed up the building quite considerably, basically similar to empowerment from the Egyptians. Buildings also cost less wood, and all 8 immortals can be traded right from the Archaic Age. Unit line upgrades are also cheaper. Alright, so this basically these immortals, that's one of the extra units that you see new with the Chinese, and that's a hero unit that is available right from the Archaic Age, and you can build 8 of them because they were in the mythology of Chinese. There are 8 immortals, and well, you can build 2 per age, but Fuxi, yeah, being the special one and the main one, the main god or Yeah, something like that. He can build all of them right from the very start.
什么事？
Now let's play it as the immortal hero. You'll pretty soon see that he's actually having two types of attacks. Let's have a look at the first one, that's the melee type against this spearman. And he's doing pretty well indeed with his short sword, because the spearman doesn't stand a chance against, yep, one of the 8 immortals.
是的，
Hero of the Chinese people. But right now he's going to be facing a budget, which is a ranged unit, and for that he is going to use his bow. Yeah, you can see that he's choosing the weapons as is best for the encounter at hand. So that's his bonus, and what's his god power? That's Year of the Goat. That select a location to spawn a herd of goats. More goats point of used in later ages, quite obviously. So I'm just going to show it to you right off the bat, because you can cast it right now. Yeah, it just gives you, that's basically like Big Hunt, but it gives you out of nowhere extra goats, and well, you can either fatten them up through leaving them here from the archaic age, or you can just wait for the later ages if you are in need of some extra food, and you will get all that more of them. Otherwise, this special technology is domestication, which you can read here that it's a better increased rate from herbaceous, berries, chicken and duck. So basically, if you are on some kind of low hunt map, you can just go for this special technology and you will be basically just fine and shouldn't be facing any kind of problems against your opponents. Well, looking at the tech tree overall, what's interesting here? Well, probably we could see this new building, which is the garden, and that's a special building that will allow you to gather resources. So let's just place it as well. I think we are having enough resources with the villagers. Yep, you can see already the reduced wood cost in there, and well, let's click it in. And if you are seeing red here, well, that's kind of usual, because if you want to build the next one, it's just going to be all that much more expensive, basically like the Egyptian monuments here. So let's just have a look. Right now it was 35, and it switched into 50. Okay, so here we go.
是的，
Let's build second one, and it will yet again go for the red one, and yep,
什么吩咐？
the next price will be 75, and that's the max. And up until then, or rather after that, you will be just fine to go to the max of 10 gardens that you can build, and well, all will cost 75 of all. Yep, that's pretty much it.
准备好了，好的，
And of course, the gardens, as you can see, they are mainly for gathering favor. You already see that I am having the trickle, having the 2 count here for the 2 gardens being present. But well, you can also switch them into other resources, like food. You can see the switch in here in the villages on the left side, and into wood, gold as well. And you can't really pick one with each of the gardens. All the gardens are gathering just the same resource, so basically it's just to avoid any kind of super optimization which would make Chinese all that much overpowered. But well, with this, it's still going to be quite useful indeed. But basically, it's mainly for the favor gathering, quite obviously.
有什么吩咐？遵命，
To also show you some of the
出发。
faster building, let's just drop in the house here. Yeah, you can see that the easy computer is just right now advancing, and yeah, this is, you can see that the cost is reducing, and it's basically because it's getting further in there, and well, and you just put it in, you're just going to see how faster it is getting built. Quite a lot of difference. Okay, so that's a pretty neat special tech, isn't it? So let's get back into the tech tree here and have a look somewhere else. Well, another special unit that you can see in the tech tree here is the monk, which is a guy that can help you against myth units, and also he is a healer. And next thing that is most important is that he can actually convert units, enemy units, into your side. So basically like a priest or monk from the Age of Empires, but well, here we welcome him in the Age of Mythology for the Chinese. So that's a pretty cool guy. We can see that he's available from the heroic and the temple, so that he's not all too powerful in the early ages, but well, you can still have some quite fun encounters with him and surprise your opponent quite potentially. Now let's play it as the monk hero, and his first ability is the conversion. So let's have a look how long that is going to take with the first female. We are started at 11 seconds, and well, here it is. That was about 6 seconds or so. That was a pretty fast time. And you might be wondering why I am having those houses here. And that's because the converting only works if you are having a free pop limit. So let's just delete one of those houses, and I'm housed at 1510. And right now, let's have a look if we can convert this second spearman. We are starting at 35. And just about now we should be converting, and we obviously aren't. So yep, that's it.
有什么
To
吩
be
咐？
able to convert enemy units, you need to have a free pop limit for them.
是吗？遵命。
And the second ability for the monk is healing, so let's just
出发。
get some shots from the budget here, and the monk should be getting into the healing for the villager. Yep, here we go. And as you can see, the healing is not slow at all. It's actually pretty fast, and well, this is monk in all his glory. Also looking somewhere else in the text, you can see that War Academy is the main building here together with the stables, with War Academy being able to train halberdiers. That's basically the base unit here, good against cavalry, so something like hoplite or spearman or whatever. And next to him we have Chukonus, which is basically just the telltale crossbow that is known from Age of Empires and literally any game that is featuring Chinese from the early ages of our history. And well, yeah, quite obviously he is pretty decent overall, and if you employ him in your army, you're going to be quite happy about that. With the stables, you just see in the classical age just the scout cavalry. Yeah, that's exactly the guy that we are having spawned at the very beginning for the scouting, and you can build him yet again, but he's pretty much kind of weak in combat, and that's basically reflected in his cheap costs. For example, compared to Hippicons, which are much more expensive than this guy, and also the population cost just once. So yeah, kind of trash unit, if you will. Otherwise, in the heroic, then we can switch into cataphracts, which are counter infantry, obviously. Again, inspiration from the Age of Empires, and cavalry good only against infantry. So yep, that's kind of a different look at things, and same could be said about the mounted archer, which is a counter cavalry archer. So that's usually not a combo that you see all that often. Usually cavalry is countered by some kind of halberdiers or camels or whatever, but well, this is just kind of a disruption here from the Chinese and trying to make some kind of fun entrance into the classical triangle of the melee and archery units. Now let's showcase the base units from the War Academy and the stables. The base unit from the War Academy is Halberdier, who is going to be good against cavalry, so let's just pit him against this one from the north, and let's see how he's going to do. Looking at the hit points, yeah, he's definitely winning, so he's going to finish this fight quite nicely. So let's switch into the second unit, which is the Chukonu with the telltale crossbow. He's obviously going to be good against any kind of infantry, so let's just see how well he is going to do against the spearmen in behind these walls. And let's now switch into the stables. The first unit from the stables is Scout Cavalry, and since he's not really strong enough with just 2 attack, I'm not going to pit him against normal unit, but against villagers, which is exactly the type of unit that he should be used against. If you find some stray villagers somewhere on the hunt or on the gold, yep, this is the unit that you want to use against them. The next is Cataphract from the stables, which is a guy that is supposed to be good against infantry. So yeah, we have a spearman ready for him as well. And let's send those somewhere else so that we have a proper 1v1 between those two guys. And as you can see, he's wrecking the spearman quite substantially, so not even the bonus the spearman has against cavalry is going to be good enough for him. The last unit here, once this guy maybe finishes with the villager, is the mounted archer, and he's supposed to be good. Yeah, a bit of a friendly help from the Chukono. Mounted archer against the cavalry itself. So let's have a look how good he's going to be, and pretty good indeed, as the attack is pretty substantial and he's taking care of the raiding cavalry quite nicely. So this is the showcase of the normal units from the War Academy and the stables. The next to catch your eye in here is going to be Castle and its units, and you can see that it's General, Firelance, and also in the Mythical Age then War Chariot and Sitting Tigers. So let's go one by one and start with the General here. General is the extra unit that is special for the Chinese, and that's basically, yeah, a general that can boost morale with the battle cry. So basically what you want to do is to train him, obviously, and then send him into the battle with your other units, and he will make them all that better in the battle. But you have to be careful not to lose him, as he will quite probably be a fast target for any kind of archers or whatever units that your opponent can have on the battlefield. Next in line is then Firelance, and that's just a guy with rockets, and well, that kind of does enough for the siege weapon, obviously. And against archers and buildings he is good because he does have some kind of splash damage. He doesn't have to fight just against buildings, which is decidedly a bonus for him. In the Mythical Age then we have the War Chariot, which is just cavalry, good against archers, so yet again a pretty interesting take on things here. And the last unit right now is Sitting Tiger, which is basically just a variant on standard catapult, which is going to be a siege weapon similar to what Aegis have in the Mythical Age, and well, yeah, enchant artillery, good against buildings. That's what this will excel against. From the castle you can build General, Fire Lance, War Chariot and the Sitting Tiger. So let's have a look first at the siege weapons. Well, the Fire Lancer is carrying the weapon on his back with the rockets. Let's see how his animation looks. And well, as you can see, it's pretty fast, so even though he's not dealing a substantial damage to the building, his rate of fire is basically making up for it, and that's a unit that you will want to incorporate into your armies then. He's also pretty decent against normal units, as you can see, once he hits, it's going to be 6 damage, that's not half bad, so if you are not in need of deleting some enemy buildings, he's going to be pretty useful just as well. The next unit that is going to be quite substantial for your siege attempts is going to be the Sitting Tiger in the Mythical Age, and that's a pretty huge beast, even though it looks kind of funny with those wheels changing dimensions. It's dealing a pretty substantial amount of damage. You can see that's about 50, that's huge, and you will want to rely on these abilities to take down enemy walls and buildings. As for the normal units, War Chariot is supposed to be a counter to the archers, and even though he is from melee range, he is going to be quite powerful, because as you can see right now, he's dealing quite a substantial amount of damage to the archer, and well, yeah, he's just wrecking this stock sword. The General is the last unit to showcase, and he is supposed to be having a special ability to make your unit stronger in the battle. So let's have a look at that and follow what the War Chariot does. War Cry activated, and yeah, you see the special attack 17, 16, 14, 12 on the War Chariot, and that's exactly how the special ability works. So once the General calls the battle cry, all the units that are near him are going to be all that much more powerful. Another interesting part of the tech tree is the naval line, which is at this point featuring the arrow ship Zhong, and also in the heroic age then fire ship and sea Zhong. So these are going to be the 3 boats that you will be using in your naval battles, and what's so interesting about them as compared to the other civilizations, where for the Zhong it goes into the hit points, as 330 is quite a decent amount of hit points as compared with the average speed of 5.5, max range 12 and also the pierce damage 6, but the hit points are really huge, because 330, that's by 40 more than, for example, the triremes of the Greeks or the cabinets from the Egyptians. So yep, 290 both of these cases, and this is definitely going to be the advantage in the early classical age battles with the Zhongs and the Chinese overall. And here's the showcase of the Chinese naval units. From the very left is the fishing ship, right now, seems pretty cool. Next to it is the transport ship, also seems pretty alright. And next to that, that's the new boat that's called the Zhong, and has the special advantage of having the huge number of hit points of 330. So let's have a look at how's it looking in the fight, and we are going to encounter one of the opponents here, and yeah, that's this poor transport ship. Yep, here we go, and here we hit. Yep, that's pretty much it. And let's put on the next boat and how it is going to fare. And that's the fire ship for the Chinese. You can see, yeah, that it's having some kind of cannonballs or whatever. That's probably going to be a bit of a gunpowder and some cannons at the very forefront. So let's see how this attack is going to look like. Yep, it's right now. Very nicely throwing the cannonballs there. Pretty cool animation. Not really coming from the cannons, but well, who would mind, as this is really kind of funny and cool at the same time. And the last boat at this point is the Sea Zhong, which is just a huge boat that is having a huge ballista on it. And let's see how the attack animation looks for this unit. Yep, that's kind of standard like the other boats from, for example, the Greeks or the Egyptians and whatnot. So that's the attack here with this boat. Yep, this is the 5 units on the naval warfare that you will encounter with the Chinese. You can see that the donkey is right now, or donkey llama or whatever, is replaced by yak caravan. So yeah, you're going to enjoy yet another animal in the trade in here. And well, one of the last things that is actually special in here for the Chinese is, of course, on the left with the walls, and the special upgrade for the wall, which is available right from the arcade cage. And that's basically something to make your walls between wooden wall and stone wall, so earthen wall. Well, yeah, that's going to make your walls slightly better for reasonably cheap cost, so it could be very useful for early defense against some kind of raiding or whatnot. So this has been how Fuxi is looking like, and right now let's have a look at his minor gods. So he is able in the classical age to go for Huang, aka the Yellow Emperor, who is pretty good with your economy, and you can see that his special god power is call to arms, target a group of human soldiers and fill their ranks, which is a pretty powerful one, obviously, as we are just getting something extra, and it works also above population limit, so that's definitely one you want to use very wisely and not before you are on your pop. His mythical unit is Terracotta Warrior, which is a pretty good guy for the early fight, because obviously he's kinda tanky, and well, he returns parts of its costs after death and also expels lethal lust, so that's basically like a scarab who also kinda explodes upon death. Special technology is better stone armor for the Terracotta Warriors, and then we have 5 grains, which is a very good one, because Huang teaches your peasants the secrets of the 5 grains, which make farms cheaper. Quite obviously, pretty useful one if you are switching into the farms from hunt or herdables or whatever. Another tech, Oracle Bone Script, which is making your work academy units cheaper and train faster. Well, that's definitely worth it if you are going for the Chukonos or the Halberdiers. And how does Huang this call to arms work? Let's have a look. As you can see, basically like God power Great Hunt from Odin multiplies the units that you casted on. The mythical unit Terracotta Warrior is looking pretty cool at this point, so let's pit him against this poor villager that is at just the wrong spot at the wrong time. And yeah, obviously, he's not going to be the favorite of this matchup. But we also need to look at the special ability of the Terracotta Warrior, which is dealing damage upon death and also giving extra resources. Right now, look at the wood line. 10,000. Come on. And he's dealing quite a lot of damage. Well, 17 damage to the raiding cavalry on death. That's quite a huge amount. So if he's in some close quarters, this is going to be quite a deadly encounter in the early game. And he has given back 19 wood, so pretty decent right there. The other option here is Sun Wukong, the mythical rebel god and monkey king, and his improvements add your halberdiers and navy. So halberdiers, yeah, that's the extra unit in here, or rather the base unit that you will be using from the War Academy. And well, he is having a special god power, Great Journey, with you target anywhere, you're just going to get increased in the speed of your units for almost a minute. So that's a pretty good one. And of course, if you want to maneuver quickly somewhere, that's going to be very useful indeed. His mythical unit is Monkey King, yeah, that's a pretty good one with the stun ability, and if you are able to amass them, at least a decent number of them, even though you might be having slight problems with it at the very start, they are still pretty powerful due to the stun unit ability here, which is really good. Another special tech that is going to improve the Monkey Kings here. Yeah, golden stuff increases their damage, and for the special technologies for just Sun Wukong, that's Paper Talisman, as he makes your halberdier stronger, and that's basically just signaling that he's really targeting the halberdiers as his specialty. Another one, that's Pillar of the Ocean, and that's making your fishing ships, junks and docks stronger overall, so that's a pretty good one if you want to fight on the water like on Medit or some kind of Midgard or whatever. And how does Sun Wukong's special ability, the Great Journey, work? Well, let's cast it anywhere. As you can see, it lasts for a minute, and how is the effect? Well, from 5 plus 2, that's pretty substantial increase. That's really going to allow you quite nice maneuvering, and it's also working on the mythical units, as you can see on the Monkey King. That is the special unit for Sun Wukong. So let's see how he's going to fight against this raiding cavalry, and his special ability is stun, and yeah, that's pretty powerful indeed, as it's basically like the shockwave from the Atlanteans. So, pretty good job indeed, Monkey King. For the heroic ages, we have Dabo Gong, and with him Zhong Kui. Zhong Kui, not exactly sure at this point how he's pronounced, sorry about that. But Dabo Gong is God of Wealth, and his improvements aid your economy quite obviously. So his special god power is Imperial Examination, which is a very interesting god power, as if you target it anywhere, it makes all your buildings and units construct and train faster. So basically, if you are advancing into some kind of faster castle, or faster castle that's in Age of Empires, in Age of Mythology, faster heroic of course, you will be quite interested in him, because you might want to drop some pretty fast castle like the unit here, not the age, or some kind of military buildings in the beachhead quite fast, and it could really help you, especially with stealing some enemy TC or whatnot. So yeah, definitely one that you will want to keep an eye on. His mythical unit at this point is Btw, which is a winged lion that generates gold when fighting. That's very interesting. You remember from beta, that was a specialty of Odin's cavalry, if I remember correctly. That was interesting, but removed. But right now, this is making an entrance with the Chinese Btw, so quite interesting indeed with this winged lion. Special tech, Landlord Spirit. Dabo Gong makes your villages prosper by reducing the time it takes to take peasants, which is yet again a pretty good sign that you maybe want to go faster heroic with Dabo Gong, as obviously if you can reduce the reduce the time to train the peasants, we can boom quite substantially better than if you're stuck in classical age with the normal rates. Some other technologies are Dabo Gong makes monks convert enemy units at a fast rate, so yep, that's if you want to use the monks guy, then you want make them even better. And the last one is House Altars, which increases the rate at which gardens generate food, wood, gold and favor. So he's overall not having any military tax, but he's having quite a lot of them concerning the economy and making your economy as strong as possible as soon as possible. And how good actually is Dabo Gong's Imperial Examination? Well, for that, we first have to measure how long it takes us to build a house, for example. So let's wait for some round number, like the 20 seconds. Yep, and right now she will be building. And let's measure how long it's going to take her. From 20 seconds into, she's finishing at 34. Okay, so 14 seconds for building a house, let's remember that number. And for the training, let's see how fast that is going to be. Let's wait also for a round number so that it's easier on us. So 14 seconds for the house, starting at 50 with the Scout Cavalry. 50 for the Scout Cavalry, and he is trained at 12 seconds. Okay, so 14 seconds for the house and 12 for the cavalry. Let's now cast the god power and build now the house. Let's also wait for something around 14 and 12. 14 and 12, and she is beginning at 20. So from 14 seconds, how low is it going to be now? And she's finishing at 10 seconds. Well, that's 4 seconds less. So 4 seconds less for the house, and for the training it's going to be... That's going to be how much? From 12 seconds to... Well, to just 7. Oh, that's like those 4 or 5 seconds. So pretty decent. 4 seconds for the building and 4 to 5 seconds for the training time of the Scout Cavalry. Pretty decent god power indeed. Alright, so let's have a look at this cutie here, the Btw, who is supposed to be giving us some extra gold as he's fighting. So let's see about that. We are having 9920. And yeah, you can already see the trickle here. 1, 2, 3. Wow, that's a pretty fast trickle actually, especially when he's so strong and he has just wrecked this training cavalry. So pretty good job indeed. The other guy that you can go for, Zhong Kui, god of demons and the underworld, and well, his improvements aid your immortals. So that's for the guys that you can train in the TC from the archaic age. And well, you will see in the special tags here. His god power is Uproot, which is a pretty good one. That's basically in a range, and you just place it on the buildings and they will slowly destroy the buildings. They take percentage of the hit points every second or some such, and well, you just need to destroy them, otherwise they will just take the building down altogether. So quite interesting, and something that you must not let left unattended if it is cast upon you. The mythical unit for him is Chang'e, which is basically some kind of Chinese vampire, if you will have it, and that unit that drains drive from enemy soldiers, so quite obviously. That's a vampire guy, and yeah, you can guess exactly what's going to happen with him. Pretty decent hack damage, pretty decent armor, yeah, pretty good tanky unit for just a measly cost of 150 wood, and well, the favor is kinda worse, but with 10 gardens you should be quite fine. Special attack is right now Life Drain, because he improves the special attack of your Jiangshi, increasing the damage they do, so making them even stronger and much more powerful on the battlefield. And yet another technology is increasing the damage of your immortals against myth units. So yep, that's the one that is signaled by the theme as its improvements to your immortals. So let's make those 8 guys in the mythical age as good as you can. Or with Fuxi, you can actually make them even sooner, which basically makes for a very nice synergy with Fuxi, as you can make the immortals right in the heroic age, all 8 of them. And Unbridled Rage, or rather Anger, makes your infantry stronger, so that's basically yet another help into the halberd years, and well, that could help you quite substantially as well in messing the right units. And let's see how good Zhong Kui with his uproot and the Jiangshi is. Jiangshi is basically an Asian version of a vampire, and his special ability is obviously healing upon dealing damage. So let's unleash him upon those poor souls hidden behind those walls. And well, as you can see, he's having a pretty huge attack and also quite fast attack animation. And if you look at the hit points there, you will see them jumping down and up, and that's basically his healing ability, which is pretty strong indeed. Looking at the god power, we have prepared a bit of a buildings on the left, as the uproots are affecting just buildings, not units at all. And let's cast it here, and yeah, you can see that it summons a lot of roots around the buildings, and they are dealing a decent trickle of damage upon them. And what is important about the roots is that they need to be killed. As you can see, they have some kind of blue hit point bar, and if you don't target them and kill them soon, they are just going to deal damage to the buildings until they are dead, and they will stay on the grounds until you get rid of them. So yeah, pretty good god power indeed, and this is a Zhong Kui. In the mythical age right now, you see that the Fuxi has a choice of Kuang and Chongli, and Kuang is the dragon god of the Eastern Sea, and his improvements aid your human soldiers and navy. Obviously, if you want to go for some navy battles in the mythical age, this is the guy that you will want to take. And also, if you are interested in going for normal units and not the mythical ones, his special god power is Great Flood, targeting an enemy to flood their buildings and drown their units, which is a pretty cool one, and you will want to see it and use that. And as for the mythical units, there's an Azure Dragon, so that's basically following the mythical teachings of the Chinese mythology, and yep, that's the dragon that is having a long snake-like body, just like Fuxi. So it's not basically like the Western type that you have wings and whatever. This is a different type of dragon. He will be having a counterpart on the water, which is a dragon turtle, fire-breathing turtle. That's interesting on water, obviously. And as for the special technologies, we have Neza's Defeat, which improves dragons, making them stronger in combat, and also Dragon Scales, which lets your human and units dragon scales, improving their hack armor. So that's basically landing for the overall theme of improving the infantry and the normal human soldiers. And the last specialty for him is EC, which is reducing the cost of your ships. So yet again, if you want to go for a mythical age fight in the water, definitely a god that you want to take. And how good is Kuang and his special god power, the Great Flood, and the mythical unit Azure Dragon? Well, let's have a look. Azure Dragon is a standard variety of the Asian dragons with the snake-like body, not like the Western one with the wings, and let's have a look how good he is against units. So that's his special attack, and well, he dealt quite a decent amount of damage to both of those units, and with his tankiness of 800 hit points, he will definitely be a unit that you will want to incorporate into your Mythical Age armies. On the water, our Kuang is offering Dragon Turtle, which is basically the water variant of the Azure Dragon, so let's see it in action against this poor cabinet, and yep, special attack, throwing balls of fire, and right now getting into the melee range and wrecking this cabinet until it's at the sea floor. The last to showcase at this point is the Great Flood. We have prepared a bit of a scenario, and as you can see, you can actually choose the direction in which it will go. You can change that through the mouse wheel, so let's cast it for example here, and yet there is a timer on the right side with 20 seconds, and that's the duration upon which it will wreak havoc upon the lands of China, and not just that. And also, as you can see, it doesn't mind if it's going over land or water or units, buildings, whatever. It's just going to wreck absolutely anything in its path. Quite a lot of distraction for this mythical age god power. But if you don't, you're just going to go for Chongli, because he's the god of fire and his improvements at your cavalry and also navy. So it's not like you can actually choose wrong if you go for the navy, but this is a guy that is much more centered around normal land, as he is also going with the god power Inferno target location to start a Fury Inferno, and that's a pretty cool one as it destroys both buildings and also units, but you have to be careful because it also targets your own units, so careful about that. As for the mythical unit, he's having a Vermilion Bird, which is some kind of variant on other flying units like Stymphalian Bird or Phoenix, and well, he causes firestorms, so that's a pretty cool guy. And he's quite colorful, which you don't really see on this picture, but once you see him in game, he's pretty cool. Pretty good hit points. Overall, pretty good badass for a mythical age unit. His special attack is very interesting indeed, which is Heavenly Fire, because Chongli removes the food and wood costs of your armory technologies, which is something like Forge of Olympus from Hephaestus, and definitely is going to be the one that you maybe will want to go if you go for some faster mythic, because yeah, just reducing the costs of all those upgrades is pretty huge. As it's not like it's kind of cheap, especially the last line 600. That's, yeah, quite a good one to actually get cheaper on. So interesting technology, and other technologies is Stirrup, increases the hit points of all your cavalry units, so basically pretty good one for your generals if you want to keep them alive longer, and also might be useful for the war chariot and potentially even cataphract. And you have quite a lot of units, especially actually with Chinese on the horses, so that's a pretty good one that you want for prolonged fights and maybe even for deathmatch or whatnot. And the last special technology for him is Chongli increases the movement speed of your ships, so yet again that's a support for potential naval fights. So if you want to go for faster ships rather than the cheaper ships, then yeah, Chongli will be the god ship you want to take. And how powerful is Chongli? Well, let's have a look at the Vermilion Bird, who is the mythical unit for this god, and how is it looking with its special attack. Well, as you can see, it's not really all that fast, but it's making up for it with the special attack, and yeah, you can see, wow, that was almost like insta-kill, so super strong attack. And then the normal attack is through strong buffets of the wings, so pretty good job indeed. And let's have a look at the mythical god power. We have prepared a bit of a buildings together with units, so let's cast it. And oh well, that's a lot of damage into units here, so they are just getting wrecked, and also the buildings, and well, the poor elephant is getting roasted alive also very much, so that's a very strong god power indeed. And let's have a look, and yeah, we did kill the elephant. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and this has been the introduction to Fuxi. And the next god, or rather goddess, is right now Nuva, and that's the earthly sovereign and also co-creator of humanity and sister of Fuxi. So that's basically why the god statue is so similar with her brothers Fuxis, and well, yeah, that's how you will learn that they are both of the same family. So, looking at the tech tree for her, we're just going to see all the rest that is absolutely the same as Fuxi, so we're not going to talk about it yet again, but we will talk about the gods, the minor gods, and also herself. So, she is focusing on economy and human units, and each garden grants a theoretical and +1 population. All human units are cheaper, and markets can be built in the classical age, so that's quite a huge bonus overall for literally all your economy. And you can see that each garden grants a theoretical is really important because it's going to be all that easier for you to go for mythical units, or it can boost your economy all that much faster if you opt to go for some other kind of resource. And the +1 population, well, as you can know from the previous one from Fuxi, you can build 10 gardens, which means that you can be up to 10 population, which is quite substantial and can decide the game if you use it correctly. That all human units are cheaper, that's pretty cool indeed. As obviously, yeah, you're going to see they are cheaper from the 40 and 30, basically 10% cheaper. That's pretty decent cost reduction right there. And looking at her god power, that's revised fallen villagers, so let's just show it right off. Just going to
准备
sacrifice
好了。
all 4 of them just to show you how many it will actually replace, and it replaces 3. Up to 3 villages from the dead ones, yeah. So that's a pretty good one, especially for early raiding. If you are somehow heavily raided, you're just going to use this good power and, well, raiding goodbye. Nice meeting you. That's a pretty powerful one, especially for the early game, and with this goes her special tech, which is acupuncture. As Niva grants your peasants the wisdom of acupuncture, which allows them to regenerate their health, so yet again, another help against raiding. And if you have some half-dead willies or whatever, maybe you don't need to be even raided, just from some kind of hunt on boars or elephants or whatever, you're just going to welcome this technology, as it's going to make them full health and all that harder to raid later on. So pretty good one, and yeah. Nuva is not half bad, and the market can be built in the classical age is actually pretty important for potentially fully including the strategy of sling, which is very prevalent in Age of Empires. It's not really all that used in Age of Mythology, even though it can be pretty useful. And since you can build markets in the classical age, it means that you can also improve ambassadors, which will reduce the tribute penalty at the market. So yeah, this is kinda maybe the stepping stone to the sling in Age of Mythology. So let's see about that. As for minor gods, you can see a new one, that's Chang'e, goddess of the moon, and her improvements aid your archers. Her special ability, yeah, with a little rabbit here, and they're stopped just like that. That's going to be barrage and target an enemy area to call down a barrage of arrows, which is pretty cool and also pretty powerful, so not a half bad classical age special god power, and you will definitely want to take care of that and use that very wisely. Her myth unit is Quillin, which is immune to most power, which is pretty cool, but what is much more interesting is healing units on death. This basically means that once the guy is in the battle with normal units and he dies, he's just going to heal a set amount of hit points. Right now it's something like 50 or whatnot, that is going to be healed to all the units in a certain radius, which is something like 10 meters. Yeah, that's not small, and if you can really time this correctly, this could be a pretty powerful weapon indeed. Another special tech is shares the elixir of immortality with your immortals, which makes them rapidly regenerate their health. So basically just add in yet another healing property and pretty good special property to the immortals here, and they will be all that much more powerful if you can keep them alive longer thanks to this elixir. So pretty nice one. And what's the next special technology? That's Huang's bow. A bow that Chang'e lends her husband's bow to your archers, increasing the damage, which is basically just, yeah, for the Chukonos here, and also the mounted archer, which could be quite potentially powerful indeed, especially in the classical age, because the Chukonos are going to be the backbone of your army, and with the special tech, yeah, that's going to be all that much better for them. Yet another special tech, Jade Rabbit. Chang'e makes all human units and heroes move faster, so obviously any kind of improvement in speed unit, in unit speed, is very welcome, because quite obviously it means you are much more agile in raiding and also outmaneuvering your opponent. And let's see how good actually Chang'e's special ability is. So let's cast it at this tightly packed group of raiding cavalry and see if we can hit them. Well, we already did, and yep, here we go. That's a pretty decent massacre right there, and as you can see, this god power is going to be super useful against tightly packed groups of units. And the mythical unit for Chang'e is Killing, so let's see how he's going to do against those guys. And his special ability is healing upon death, so that's not going to be happening against them, but we need to make sure that we have some units that are under attack and we can heal them later on. So Vajet, would you please? Yeah, you would, so thank you for that. And let's continue with the Scout Cavalry here. Also needs a bit of extra damage, which he did get. And let's see about the healing potential of the Quillin at this point. So 28 and 73. Thank you, Quillin, and well, 78, that was plus 50, and he's at full health, so pretty decent healing potential. Otherwise, Huang has Yellow Emperor we have already talked about, as we have about Dabo Gong, but we haven't seen another heroic age god, that's Hebo, god of the Yellow River. His improvements aid your buildings and navy. So yeah, if you want to go for some heroic fight on the water. This is going to be the guy that you will want to take, and his special god power is Geyser. Target anywhere to spawn a geyser. That works in a way that it places upon an area a randomly placed geyser muzzles, let's say, and when a unit actually gets close, it's just going to be flown into the air and dealt quite a decent amount of damage. So even though you might think that it's basically like spider lair, which is useless, yeah, or useless, you must use it correctly to make it useful, but geysers are not useless at all, and they are pretty strong indeed. The special unit at this point is War Salamander, which is an amphibian unit, which is a very new concept in here, because he can move right on land as well as on the water. So basically you can make some surprise attack. For example, on Mediterranean, you just build him in your home base and you just send him all over the water, all across the water to the opponent's base, and well, have fun with that. So basically that's what you will want to make him for, and as he is amphibian, you can make him from both the temple and also docks. Special technology is for sacrifices. Hippo grants a slow but free and constant favor tackle. Yeah, that's a pretty good one if you want to make all that more mythical units. And another tech is here, Lord of the River. Hippo improves the hit points of your fire ships. So yeah, that's basically just to counter in the heroic age some kind of siege weapons or other siege ships from your opponent, and yeah, make that all that much easier. And also, of course, fire ships are basically like the hammer ships, so they will be good against mythical units as well. The last tech, Ramped Earth. Hippo increases the hit points of your buildings. Well, not much to be said here. Basically, as long as your buildings stand, they are useful, so the longer you can keep them alive, the better. And how good is Hippo? Well, let's first check out the mythical unit, that is War Salamander, which has a special ability to go both through land and also water. So first let's check out the land animation. And through attack, well, yeah, that's pretty much handling this villager without any problem whatsoever. So goodbye, Willy. And also, let's see how this is going to deal with the transition to water. So, yep, and right now it's nice, they swim in, and it should be encountering a boat quite soon here. So let's see about the attack as well. Well, pretty substantial indeed. So that's the War Salamander for you. Looking at the god power, let's just now cast it about here. You can see that's all those randoms, and yep, it's just getting all these guys worked up as they actually encounter those holes in the ground. And let's just lure them in. Blind day for all of you guys, sorry about that. Oh well. Isn't this just beautiful? And yep, everybody is dead. A very good god power indeed. Chongli in the Mythical Age is also the one we have already talked about, and well, the one that we haven't talked about is right now Wangmu, sorry about that, Goddess of and Queen Mother of the West. Her improvements at your castle units. So yeah, that's basically something that we were waiting for, as we want this line from the castle to be all that much more powerful. Her special god power is Earth Dragon. Select location to summon the mighty Earth Dragon, and it's basically something similar to Sentinels. You just place it on ground and it will just spawn from the ground and spew fire on its opponents, and it has, if I remember correctly, three charges, because it cannot move from the initial position, so you have to be super careful where you actually place it. But yeah, this is basically just made up by having multiple charges than just one. The myth unit is a White Tiger. That's the one that we have seen in the very first reveal stream of the Tale of the Dragon expansion, and well, yeah, he lives in the combat and he's pretty cool to look at. Oh, we wouldn't like White Tigers, right? Special upgrades right now, Tiger Spirit. Wangmu improves the hit points and speed of your White Tigers, obviously. And another special tech is Golden Beaches. Wangmu increases the hit points of all your castle units, so that's definitely one that you will want to take, because it will improve both your siege weapons, those fire lancers and also sitting tigers, but also war chariots and, much more importantly, generals. So if you want to use the generals to your heart's content, just go Wangmu and you will be happy with that. And Celestial Palace, that's just Wangmu, increasing the hit points of your castles and makes them train units faster. So yep, if you want to be relying on a lot of siege weapons and also war chariots and generals, you just want to take Wangmu. And let's have a look how good Wangmu's God Power, Earth Dragon and the White Tiger are. So White Tiger has a special ability of jumping across walls, yeah, that was a pretty good leap, and killing anything that is behind them. So pretty good job at that. And let's cast the God Power here, for example, and it's going to rain fire upon the opponents. Yep, pretty good job indeed. And well, the hit point 5000, that's a pretty huge number, and even though this huge dragon cannot move, it's made up for that by the fact that you can actually use it multiple times. You can see the timer here, and you have 3 charges to use this golden blue dragon. So yep, this has been Niva as the second god of the Chinese. And the last god to have a look at is right now Shennong, the human sovereign and emperor of the 5 grains, the divine farmer. Well, he does look pretty badass with his club and his horns, but let's look how good he will be looking at the technology tree department. So, looking at his focus, that is monks and siege units, that's going to be quite interesting indeed. Monks can convert myth units. Oh well, that's a novelty here, because monks can usually convert just normal human units, but right now with Shennong you will be able to convert, for example, Colossi, and that could be quite fun indeed. Each weapons deal more damage, and that's kinda straightforward, and wall upgrades are cheaper. Well, that's not half bad, especially if you want to protect yourself from some kind of raiding and whatnot in the early game, and well, maybe even in the later game, why not? His special technology, or rather god power, is Timber Harvest, target anywhere to make all your villagers gather wood faster, so that's basically the same as the Prosperity from Isis, but right now from wood, so that's a new one. And his special tech is Wheelbarrow, which is yet again from the Age of Empires series, and Channel gives your peasants wheelbarrows, which allows them to carry more resources, which is very important indeed, because it means they will be spending less time walking to the gather points like DC, and more time gathering actual resources, so pretty good one to keep in mind. As for the minor gods that he is having available, that's Chang'e and soon Wukong in the Classical Age. We don't right now need to go through them because we have already gone through all of them in the previous 2 encounters with the siblings of Fuxi and Niva, and for Heroic Age he has Zhong Kui together with Hebo and Kuang together with Wangmu in the Mythical Age. So pretty good choices here, and well, this is it, and this is Shennong, the Divine Farmer for the Chinese. And to properly finish things off, let's have a look at the buildings across the ages and the units across their upgrades. The first to have a look at is the town center. Then it's the armory, followed by the majestic castles, looking really great. Then these are the docks. And here we go with the special Chinese building, the gardens, followed by the houses. And let's have a look at the market, which is available in Classical for Niva. Next building, the tower, followed by the stables. And right underneath them we have the special gathering point for the Chinese, the storage pit. And then we have a look at the temples, and especially the mythic one is looking pretty great. And one of the last buildings, that's War Academy. And the very last one is the wall, together with the gates, and yeah, here we see the special one for just the Chinese, the earthen wall. And right now, let's check out the units, and let's start with the naval line.
是的，
First is the fishing ship,
什么事？
then the transport ship, followed by junk, fire ship, siege junk, and the only mythical unit on the water from Kuang, the dragon turtle. And for the land variant of the armies, first one is Firelance, then the Sitting Tiger, followed by the Halberdier, all 4 depictions, with the Chukonu right below him. Then is the Immortal, with the Monk and the General. Below them is the Scout Cavalry,
准备好了，
Cataphract,
有什么吩
and
咐？
the Mounted Archer. And one of the last units is the War Chariot. And here we go
准备好了，
with the villagers in the male variant, female variant called peasants, both of them, and also the yak caravan. Mustn't forget the animals here. And for the myth units, we begin with the Monkey King. Then is the Jiangshi, and definitely love this guy. White Tiger, followed by the Terracotta Warrior, Pixiu, and War Salamander, a pretty badass unit currently. And one of the last ones is Killin, and yeah, pretty great Azure Dragon. And the very last one is then the Vermilion Bird. Yeah, that's a pretty cool unit indeed. Alright, so these were all the units and buildings for the Chinese. And what does the Wonder and Titan look like, you ask? Well, let's have a look. We have actually 3 types of wonders, one for each of the new major gods, and we are beginning with the one for Fuxi that is inspired by the Forbidden City, looking quite majestic indeed. The second one is for Nuva, and that is inspired by the Summer Palace and looking no less beautiful than the previous one. And the third wonder for Shennong is inspired by the Temple of Heaven and looking pretty cool indeed as well. And who is the Titan? Well, yeah, it is Pangu. Pangu is the guy who has actually created the world and everything we know, and well, since he's supposed to be holding the skies above our heads, he's definitely needing all those muscles that he's having right now. Well, pretty cool model with those tattoos of the dragons on his back, and yep, these are the wonders and the Titan for the Chinese civilization. Let's have a look at the new units coming with the expansion to the old civilizations, and let's start with the Greek physician. As you can see, he's a hero and he's supposed to be kind of a healing fix for the Greek faction, and he's costing 60 foot, 40 gold, and let's see about his healing potential then. Let's use the Zippicon, get some damage from the Toxotes here. Yep, one more, and here we go, we're good for the healing, and the physician gets to work. Right now he is, and as you can see the healing rate is pretty fast, so he will be a pretty useful unit indeed if you can play him properly. As for the Egyptians, we have a Kopesh Swordsman, who is supposed to be a bit of a trash unit, 30 foot, 30 gold and just 65 hit points, but he's very fast at 5.8 and he will be good against villagers. Yep, he's supposed to be used in the early classical or some such, and raiding the villages on the gold and hunt and some such, putting the workforce under his heel. For the Norse, we have Archer, Boxveigir, and well, that's kind of an answer for the problem that Norse have with the flying units, especially something like Stymphalian birds and whatnot, so he's having a bonus against mythical ones, and yep, he's kinda a Jarl with a bow. Of course, he's not as tanky with just 80 hit points, so you can't really hope that he can win just by himself, but he's going to be helping quite a lot. His max range at 18 is pretty decent, and cost at 80 wood, 40 gold is pretty nice as well, but the range is also quite high because it's even higher than the 15 from the Toxotes, so pretty decent indeed. And let's see how good he is going to be against this Stymphalian bird, for example. Yep, and right now he's dealing 15 damage, dealing some pretty decent amount of it. And before he dies, he has just killed like 100 hit points, so that's a quarter of the Stymphalian bird, so pretty decent indeed. For the last civilization, the Atlanteans, we have a ranged siege, which is exactly what Atlanteans were missing, and that's an onager. He's costing 150 for both wood and gold, and he's having a pretty huge range of 28, so he should be quite helpful, and let's see how good he is going to be against the building that we have prepared here, and how he's going to look at the animation. Yep, he's throwing 2 stones, hitting very nicely and dealing quite a good amount of damage. So, these are the new units for the old civilizations. And what are some of the balance changes that are coming with the Tail of the Dragon? Well, there's quite a lot of them, and you'll find them at the link I'm going to supply to in the description of the video. But as you can see, there's literally a ton of them. I've highlighted some of the more interesting or crucial ones for the actual gameplay, but obviously all of those are going to affect how we play the game overall. If you've played some games on the Wobbly balance patch, then you already know many of the important changes or their variants, but if not, then I can guess you're going to be pleasantly surprised by the improvements the expansion brings. So let's start with the bug fixes. Satyrs now have a training time value, reducing their training time from 30 to 15 seconds, and yep, that's basically a bug that made satyrs to really train all that longer, and they weren't all that useful overall, so this should help them. And Titan Gates no longer reveal their casting location. That means that when you actually cast the Titan Gate, if you were fast enough, or rather your opponent was fast enough, you could cast, for example, meteors on it and destroy it right off the bat. That won't be possible anymore. With the visual changes, yeah, that's a host of problems. Usually just making sure that you can actually better discern units or whatever. And for the map changes overall, that's just a balancing thing. So for example, better positioning of TCs, resources, and overall better maps that should be more fair and more fun to play with and on. For the balance changes themselves, overall, wall repair rate reduced by 70% is pretty crucial, because usually in the old game you could just have one VD and repair against the host army attacking the wall, so that wasn't really all that cool, and this is definitely taking care of that. And with Siege, with multiple projectiles deal extra damage against gates and towers. Yep, that's because there is kind of a, well, it's not much of a bug as some kind of a design, because for example, Petrobolos has 3 shots when he actually shoots, and that means that he's not bound to hit with all 3 of them, and this basically makes up for that, because in some cases those other 2 would always miss, resulting in basically a third damage, for example against a tower, than the normal damage that it should be dealing. The next important thing is the reduction of the dog damage and range, so this should make water battles more fun. And let's go for the civilizations themselves. For the Greeks, most important one is basically for the Bolt, for the Zeus. Yeah, so it's basically Zeus nerfs right there, and that's that there is not going to be any more one shot on Son of Osiris and Nidhogg. You can see that there's been lowered to just a percentage. That's definitely going to help Egyptians and Norse respectively. The Bolt also doesn't affect villagers, because there were some prevalent strategies bolting villagers, especially in team games, that proved to be quite too strong, and you can't also bolt mythical units that are transporting units just like the normal transport ships. You can't also bolt Ulfsark, the Starting Ulfsark from Norse, but that's going to be mentioned a bit later, because there's another reason for that. Yet another important change for the Greeks is the trireme range reduced from 16 to 14. That's definitely going to make battles more equal. So far, Greeks kinda tended to have some kind of edge in the early classical fightings on the water, and this should really make things more equal. Next nerf is for the Colossus, because obviously that was a super strong unit, and I kinda guess that you have encountered it in your place. And well, that's 100 less hit points, and also reduced healing rate for the Colossus from 30 to 15 per second. The next very important change is for the Forge of Olympus, also for the Hephaestus. That was definitely a very OP thing to play with, because you were able to go for faster mythic and then basically get all the upgrades very cheap. So right now that's not going to be all that easy, and even though the favor cost has been reduced from 60 to 30, research time has been increased to the double, to 60 seconds, and the effect has been reduced from 75% to just 50%. Alright, so this should be much more interesting to play in the Mythical Age with the Zeus. For the Norse, this is what I was mentioning earlier with the Ulfsark, and that he is being replaced by a Skraeling. Well, he is a Skraeling, but he is called Ulfsark in the game, so as not to really confuse players or whatnot. But the yeah, nice bonus for it is that Skraeling cannot be bolted. So yep, you don't really need to worry anymore about Zeus scouting you with Kataskopos, especially with the dock on a water map, and bolting your Ulf right there. Axe of Muspel is right now available in Classical, and what's more important about that is the extra range to the throwing axemen, and they are going to be quite powerful right now with 2 extra range. Odin's Ravens spawn immediately when Temple finishes, so that's basically a fix, because so far they were spawning upon advance to Classical Age, so right now we will be having like a minute and a half of extra scouting with the Ravens to find your enemies' villages faster for the potential raid-in. And also, Odin's regeneration's raid bonus increased from 0.8 to 1.5, so that's basically a double, and the regen special ability of Odin should be all that much more intriguing to use, or rather make use of. What's also interesting for the Norse is that Nidhogg's hit points have been increased from 2000 to 2500, hack damage from 30 to 40, and speed from 3.7 to 4. So yeah, Nidhogg should be much more of a badass than he was before. Egyptians are the next civilizations, and interesting for them is the nerf of 15 cents. That was definitely a pretty strong god power in the early age, especially against Norse, where you would just shift your early units, for example with Set, yep, those early animals, and Pharaoh with a few other extra units potentially, and you would just kill absolutely anything that your opponent had on some early or rather unsafe hunt, and that would be right now all that harder, and you can't even steal potentially villagers just under your TC, which was the other form of the shifting sense abuse. Mercenary cavalry and infantry has been quite nicely reduced on the heck armor and also pierce armor, so yeah, they should be easier to kill and not as tanky as they are so far, or have been so far. And also cavalry has been seen a kind of changes. Training time reduced from 9 seconds to 7, and pierce armor increased from 30 to 35. Also food cost has been reduced from 50 to 40, so camels, which were kinda underwhelming so far, should be seeing a bit more play right now. The last civilization, the Atlanteans, are seeing some interesting changes as well. First is that the shockwave stun time has been reduced from 4 seconds to 2, which is very important because the shockwave was definitely a bit too overpowered, as it was basically deciding the battles in the classical age just by itself, because the units couldn't fight for 4 seconds, which is quite a lot, to deal quite a decent amount of damage to them, and yep, it wasn't really all that fair to other civilizations. That hero costs decrease by 30%, that's very huge indeed, as it's going to be all that easier for Atlanteans to attain the heroes to battle the myth units, which was a problem so far, a bit at least, but it is kinda made up for by the decreased uses of valor from 3 to 2 for the Prometheus. Also, Atlantean town centers are no longer weaker as they have been. That's also something, as they won't be all that abusable by some special strats or some kind of, yeah, it wasn't really ideal, especially when they are relying on town centers to actually get the favors. So yep, town centers are the same as for the other civilizations right now. And for the deathmatch, that's one of the last parts, I removed free favor taker for each civ. So yeah, definitely right now you have to rely on the standard favor gathering procedures for your civilization, and it also means that Atlantean favor income buff has been increased from 30 to 70% to basically make up for that and make them on equal standing grounds as the other civilizations. There are also a host of other older fixes. These have been introduced in former patches, but just make sure that the new players can actually know what is happening in the game if they haven't played for some time. So yep, these are the balance changes. Now let's have a look at the new maps then. There's quite a lot of them, starting with Basin, Deep Jungle, and continuing with Old Atlantis, Open Fields, Regicide, and River Styx. And on the next side of these maps is going to be Silk Road and Yellow River. So let's start with the first one. We already have revealed so that we see all that we can see on the map. And the Basin is the first one. So small lakes on either side of the map provide players with a safe fishing location. Alright. And this is how it looks like. Yep, you have a lake at the very back for some safe fishing, and that's interesting on this map is that you see some new animals that are ducks. Okay, so that's basically a replacement for a chicken. And also, instead of cows, you are going to see yaks. Let's just find some on the map here. Ah, here they are. Yep, instead of cows, you have yaks with their nice sounds. And also what's interesting is the jade mine. So that is replacing the gold mine, and it's looking pretty cool. So the jade statues are going to be the currency on this kind of map. Alright, so that's the basin. Looking at the next one, that's going to be Deep Jungle. And Deep Jungle, grassy clearings in a sea of trees. Follow the paths through the forest to find your allies and enemies. Alright, so let's click in. And alright, so there's basically kind of a variant on a Black Forest. You also see the ducks here and whatnot, and a lot of hunt, and otherwise, really, it's kind of a densely packed with woods, so just some discrete points of passage through, but otherwise seems like a pretty good map and should be fun to play with. Also you can see some extra ponds with a few fishes in here if you are in mind for the dock. So that's another map done, or rather inspected. Let's have a look at the next one in line. That is going to be Old Atlantis. Players start on islands that are connected by shallows. Overgrown temples are present on the map that can be used once they are repaired by the players. Oh well, that's not half bad. And here we go. And we are on a main island. Okay, that is surrounded by some other islands. Well, that's quite a lot of shallows here. And let's have a look around. What interesting stuff we're going to see. A lot of hunt, obviously, on both sides. A bit of a temple here and some shellowfish as well. Okay, otherwise there are a lot of islands on around the map here with gold, obviously, so that's going to be quite important for you to go for that if the game goes into some kind of really late game, and a lot of relics. That's really important to notice on this map, because literally on each of the islands there is a relic. So yep, that could be something that you might be interested in gathering from those maps. Huh, the poor adventurer here. Alright, so that's yet another map inspected. And the next in line is going to be open fields. Open fields, the outer forests give way to large, open, expansive, perfect for farming. Periodic rain is an integral part in this land. Alright, so you are probably going to get some extra rain, and well, that's a pretty open map, and that's quite curious indeed, because you are having free farms right there for the taking. That's quite interesting indeed, especially this next to the TC. Okay, that can quite definitely help your economy early on. Otherwise, it seems like a really open map overall, and we are seeing quite a lot of new stuff in here as well with the yaks here, and some nice jungles and whatnot. Yep, bamboo tree right there, quite a lot of it. Alright, so this is the next map. Follow win with Regicide, and Regicide, that's a special one. Kill your opponent's regent before you meet his fate. All players started the fortress. No, that's not true. That has been removed from the game. That needs to be fixed first, but otherwise it's a pretty fun map that is inspired by Age of Empires, and you are starting with this kind of guy that you need to protect at all costs. You need to keep him alive, and once he's dead, yep, you are dead as well. So just keep him somewhere safe behind your tree line or whatever, behind your line of fire, and don't let him get near to the enemy, because otherwise you could be killed pretty soon. Obviously it also means that the opponent has one as well, and if you can kill him faster than the opponent can kill yours, you will be the winner. Alright, so that's the next map here, and I think that there is some new animal here, and yep, that's a ram, so they basically a replacement for some kind of boars or something like that. So yet another animal to the zoo of Age of Mythology. Also looking at the river in the middle, that's all possible, so it's not like a river Nile or something. That is freely possible, no problem for you to go over. Next map is going to be, yeah, a bit macabre in the river Styx here. The dead waters of the underworld surround your island and restrict access to the enemy islands or the bonus island in the center. Alright. And well, that's basically kind of a migration right there from Age of Empires. Yep, and you can see that's really dark altogether. Really very dark indeed, and you will be... oh well, that's a strange bird right there. And you're going to be forced to migrate to the mainland, quite obviously, because there are some extra TCs and also extra resources that you will need to defeat your enemy. But otherwise, yep, a lot of water here, but without any fish whatsoever. So basically all you want to do is just use the fishing boats, oh no, rather not fishing boats, but transport boats to transport you onto the mainland here. Yet another map inspected, and we are nearing the second part of the list, and the first from here is going to be the Silk Road. Silk Road, a long map where players can capture trading posts that generate resources similar to plenty vaults. Alright, so that's basically what that's going to be, and here we see the plenty vaults that you can actually capture, and yeah, this is the Silk Road, famous for the trading in the Middle Ages, and well, yeah, that's a pretty nice map and pretty good idea, kind of a inspiration from Age of Empires 3, where you are having the trade posts, so this is basically it in the variation for Age of Mythology, and we are having some kind of extra animals, the lizards here. Yep, they are right here. So this is this map, and the last one. And the last one to showcase as a new map is going to be the Yellow River. All players start on one side of a large river with only starting resources and no extra settlements. They can attack their enemies or settle on the other side of the river. Oh well, that seems interesting. Yeah, okay, so everybody is starting on just one side of the water, obviously, with very limited resources. You are having just the base gold mine, and you are having to traverse this kind of water expanse, and this time it's not going to be traversable as opposed to the regicide, and you will have to build docks and migrate to the other side of the map for the bountiful resources, and of course the TCs as well. Or if you have some pretty good strategy, you might be able to kill your opponent even on the mainland, or at the mainland on the first initial island. That might be able to kill your opponent if you are good enough. Pretty decent map right there. And the last thing to actually showcase here is the new version of the maps, and that's going to be the Giant. So let's put on, for example, Marsh. That's a standard map that everybody knows and likes. And the Giant, that's another size of the map from normal and large, and this is going to result in much more town centers and obviously a pretty huge map overall. So let's just spawn it. It's taken a bit of a time, as you can see. And well, that's a bit bigger map. You can see there's an extra TC here, and that's literally huge. When you really run around here, you're going to have quite a lot of room for potentially building your bases however you want, and also it's going to allow you to defend slightly better against your opponent, as you will be having a harder time managing the map overall. Okay, so these are the special maps for the new expansion. So that's all the information that you need to know about the new expansion to Age of Mythology Extended Edition Tail of the Dragon, and well, now let's have fun! I've been Blackadder at Blackadder's Place, thank you for watching, and if you're interested in more videos about Age of Mythology and not just Tail of the Dragon, well, definitely subscribe.